Welcome back to our 12th episode of the Launch Your Farm Show, where I interview Josh Anderson with Keller Williams in Nashville, Tennessee. Today, Josh and I discuss how he went from working in a job in the corporate world that he didn't really love and felt stuck in, to jumping into real estate with minimal money in his pocket. We talk about some of the amazing client and community events that Josh and his team does, and Josh stands by his belief that you should be doing events around things that you already enjoy. In this episode, Josh and I talk about how he started doing inexpensive Sunday fun days and evolved those into some of his bigger events. Josh also shares how you can get a copy of some of his playbooks for his events for free, and trust me, you don't want to pass these up. We also talk about what his team does to give back to the community while raising a ton of money and awareness for nonprofits in the area. Josh also shares a super easy way to get people calling you rather than you having to chase them. And we also talk about how taking care of your top clients can bring you the biggest returns. Plus, we talk about a ton of other ideas and events that you can put into your business right now. So be sure to check out this episode, like and subscribe, follow us on social media, and enjoy the interview with Josh. Thanks for joining us on the Launch Your Farm Show. We've got a great guest for you. It's Josh Anderson from Nashville, Tennessee. You're with Keller Williams. So Josh, take a second, tell us a bit about yourself, a bit about your business.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I have been with Keller Williams and in the business since April of 2006. I graduated in finance and economics from LSU. That industry didn't work out for me. I jumped into real estate, and it was one of those things that I never really thought that I was going to be a real estate agent. But 14 and a half years later, I absolutely love it. Last year, we did about 105 million in volume, which was 234 transactions and a little over 3 million in gross commissions. So we're cranking along, and we're already closed and pending above that for this year, for 2020. And so we serve, we're right in the middle of Nashville, okay, and we serve all of Middle Tennessee.
Awesome. Yeah. So you mentioned real estate wasn't kind of your thing. It wasn't on your radar. How did you actually get into it? Like, what was that? What transpired for you to actually get into the business?
Yeah, so I graduated in finance and economics, and I worked at an investment bank.
Okay.
And after an investment bank, I worked at a client asset firm that, I think the big thing was I was 26 years old, and I wasn't really being trained. I wasn't being coached. I wasn't being challenged or mentored. And literally there were days I was just like going to the office and pushing things around my desk. And, I was making $31,000 a year, and I literally found myself calling my mom every single day, like complaining about how miserable I was. And it sounds terrible, but
yeah.
It's like, surely this isn't the rest of my life as far as a career goes. And, she was like, well, maybe you have to do a bunch of things you don't want to do or like to figure out what you want to do. And I was like, well, that seems like that seems like it could take forever. And, fast forward, I think in the meantime, I loved the idea of owning a piece of investment property, or buying real estate as investment. And so little did I know, when I quit my job and became a real estate agent, I didn't have any money, and they weren't going to loan me any money for an investment property. So I didn't think through that idea too well, but I did get to the point where I am of, I walked in one day and put in my 2 weeks and didn't know where my next paycheck was going to be. And I ended up doing my first deal about 3.5 months into the business, and literally was hooked. Like I love the idea of like the chase, the hunt, being able to find a property, then get the deal, negotiate the deal, get through inspections, and hold your client's hands and help them with that whole process. And so if somebody had told me, you went to college, you made good grades and all this to be a real estate agent, I was like, no way.
Yeah.
But it's everything. Like, I love it. There's good and bad, but I love everything about it.
I recently did an interview with my mortgage broker, and that was one of the things he talked about. Is he's like, mortgages and real estate is not something that people dream about in high school unless they've got a family member who's in it going, oh, I can't wait to. He said, but once people get into it, they love the industry, and then they're really passionate about it. So it takes happenstance to get you there, but once you're in there, you can really enjoy the career.
Yeah. And somebody asked me a couple of weeks ago, like, if you weren't a realtor, what would you do? And I'm like, I actually don't know.
Yeah.
I would be like the guy from, American Pickers. I'd like to go dig through people's barns.
That's my backup if anything ever happens. So I want to jump in, because for you, one of the big things and a big part of your business is community events and your events for your sphere as well. So let's
Yeah.
dive into what that looks like for you, kind of how that transpired. How did you get into community events, and what it looks like in your business?
Yeah. So, I think, so being in the business for 14 years, I think I've tried just about everything with regard to like for sale by owners and expireds and buying internet leads and, all the stuff. And I've always come back to client relationships and like looking at my numbers at the end of each quarter or at the end of each year. And like all of our business comes from somebody we know.
Yeah.
And so we've kind of just embraced it and said, all right, we're going to go all in on, loving on our database and our clients even more, doing pop buys, doing client events, community events. Um, I don't know, everybody, the cool part about real estate is there's so many different ways to be successful. You can be an REO agent. You can work only with investors or only new construction, or you can do the whole internet lead thing. It just didn't work for us. Like it felt like we were always churning to find deals, and it just felt like so much work. And then we realized when we were doing it, there were people we didn't gravitate to as much, or they didn't give us as much energy when we were working with them. And when you're working with a friend or a friend of a friend, like there's already that kind of like rapport is already built a little bit.
Yep.
It's just easy. It's like, hey, we're going to go look for some properties and we're going to go, grab lunch before or after, or go grab a beer. And it, can it be worse? Sure. But for us, we've just embraced it, and it's worked really well. And so that's where we came to like, all right, we're going to do more client events, and we're going to invite our clients, and then we're going to ask our clients to invite a friend that we might not know to add to our database to build our sphere to be bigger. And then we, started doing some client events and different things, because I bought an office building about 3 years ago, and we're right in the middle of a neighborhood. It happens to be the neighborhood I live in. So that also makes it really great. I live about 300 yards away from my house
Nice.
and my office. So that's pretty awesome. But, we've gotten really involved. Like last weekend, we did a neighborhood cleanup thing, and, it was really just our team and a couple of the board members and council people. And so it gives us, a couple hours to just hang out with the council members, and
Yeah.
they see what we're doing, and then they're giving our information out, because we live in the neighborhood, we work in the neighborhood.
And that's a big part of it. And I think going back to what you said about kind of finding what worked for you, it's one of the big things I've always believed in. I used to have a show that I did 5-6 years ago called Niche Agent, and it was about finding what works for you. And that's part of why I love farming so much, is that you can do farming 100 different ways, and you can layer in the strategies and tactics that work for you, that best suit your personality, that best suit your community, and each person kind of finds their own way. And I find that a lot of agents have been taught that farming is just postcards and door knocking, and that's what they're pushed. And then, so a lot of people don't realize that there's so many different ways to do it. For you, community events and client events is a big part of it. How did you discover that? Because for some people, they have a hard time discovering what actually works for them.
Yeah. So, and I'll give you that answer right after. So like, well, I agree with you so much. I think people get caught up. They hear the word in real estate, they hear the word farming.
Yeah.
I think that it's automatically like, I don't want to door knock.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to send out 1,000 postcards a month, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you can farm Facebook, you can farm Instagram, you can farm there's just so many different. So really what we do is more demographic than geographic.
Yep.
So, all that to say, I think people get really caught up in the literal words of farming, instead of thinking about, we just farm our database, and we try to build it bigger by other people. So, how I fell into the client events, and this probably sounds silly. I mean, the original way that I fell into it was when I got in the business, I literally had $5,000 saved, and I absolutely was not going to ask my mom and dad for any money. Like $5,000 was going to work, or it wasn't, one of the two.
Yeah.
And so I did a lot of Sunday fun days, and basically was kind of the connector between a lot of my now great friends.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was in a lot of different organizations, meeting people. This was even before I got into real estate. I moved back to Nashville after not being here for 15 years, and I wanted to get really connected. And so I got involved in nonprofits and, junior, like the junior chamber and young professional organizations. I started meeting some of those people, and then I started doing Sunday fun days, and just said like, hey, it's kind of BYOB. I'm going to do hot dogs and hamburgers and whatever, but it was a way for me to meet people, and then they brought friends, and then I met new people, and then I built my database and I added people, and then I connected with those people the following week. So that was kind of the original thing. And then it kind of evolved into doing housewarming parties,
Nice.
which were really inexpensive. So like we rarely, unless it's a very specific client, we rarely spend more than 250, $300 on a
Wow.
housewarming party. The cool part about a housewarming party is like, we told them you can have as many people as you want. We typically pay for about 25 people.
Yeah.
And we used to be open on it, but it became kind of a theme of it's either going to be pizza, barbecue, or Mexican. Those were just made it really simple.
Cheap, easy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cheap and easy. And we brought, waters and beer or whatever they wanted.
Yep.
And then, if they wanted, so we got we did all the invitations, all the everything. So we did physical invitations. We got their friends' mailing addresses. We got their email addresses because we would do an e-bite.
Yep.
And then we got their phone number.
Nice.
So pretty good way to build your database.
Yeah.
To meet 25 people for $250, it's, the work is on the back end, but
Yes. Yeah.
it's like, hey, having a party for $250 for a client that you want to hang out with anyway, pretty solid deal. So we started, from the Sunday fun days to the housewarming parties to the starting to do we did a lot of happy hours. And because they were really easy, it was just like, hey, we're going to spend $1,000 and have food and drinks.
Yeah.
We realized about 2 to 3 years ago, maybe in 2017, a lot of our clients were, married and had small kids, or they were taking different jobs and they were moving to different parts of town, and a beer just wasn't enticing enough to move, to drive all over town to just have a free beer. And so we used to have literally 100 plus people come to those. And then the last one we did, we had 20 people, and it was like, wow, that was a lot of time and energy. And so we started shifting into bigger and better events and doing a more niche neighborhood and community. And so we do one big family event per year, and then we do one for our top referral sources. So now they're a lot more broken out in different things. So yesterday we did pop buys. So one of our clients who's in the healthcare field is starting kind of a side hustle, and she's wanting it to be a full-time deal. But
before you go on, can you explain, in case people don't know what a pop-by is, people are listening, they don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I assume that people, and I talk fast. And anyway, so it's a pop-by would be, being able to put something together. So for example, we took flowers in mason jars and just dropped them by people's houses that were either, certain clients with a radius around our property or referral source, or they bought in the last, 90 days, things like that.
Yep.
So it could be a pop by, can be anything. It could be literally, putting something in a little baggie and saying, thanks, I hope you're doing well during this crazy time. It could be during Halloween. It could be, a little small pumpkin for the kids. It could be for Thanksgiving. It could be, we've done pie days. We've done, all kinds of things. So pop buys can really be anything. But it's just going to our, everybody on the team. We did 10 apiece. So we have, 8 agents on the team. So we went and touched, or dropped off 80 different things yesterday. So, it took an hour and a half per person to do. And they were like $9 per, mason jar with flowers in it. And so it's just something, I got 4 text messages from clients yesterday that weren't home, and they just said, hey, I've had a really crappy week. Kids have been terrible. They're, whatever.
Yeah.
I really needed that. I really appreciate it. So it's just a good touch point.
Yeah.
And they remember it when they're having a bad day.
And it's always comes down to timing. You never know when someone's going to need that or want that. You can't predict, that person's having a bad day. So by doing those things regularly, you're hitting them when they need it. Then you're probably not sometimes, but you're really building that trust with those people.
I think it's just the thought, whether they like flowers or they don't like flowers or whatever. It's just the touch. And it's just thinking about them and doing stuff. So that's a big piece of, this is really just getting back to the basics and just getting back to the relationships of, just digging in. We really can't go break bread and have lunch and coffee and all that stuff. So it's just getting creative. Like a lot of what we did early on during COVID was like Zoom, Zoom bingo and Zoom trivia.
Nice.
We did a magician for the kids. Just something to keep people busy and to keep
Yeah.
parents, you know, like the Zoom bingo was really cool because we did 3 rounds. The first round was like Disney, so it was for the kids, and then the kids kind of went in the other room and we did adult bingo with adult beverages and all that.
That's good.
So it's cool. Cool to, just, I think people are, I think it's a weird time and it might stay a weird time. And
Yeah.
I think people don't know how much longer they're going to be at home. That might be permanent. It might be,
Yeah.
so it's giving them stuff to do.
And the key is that it's not just about real estate. And I've said this many times that a lot of agents come from, they just want to send out real estate stuff and they want them to know that they're the real estate agent and they send them real estate stats and what's sold. And people want that when they want that, but when they don't want that, they don't care. And when you can provide value in their life, when you can make their day a little bit better, when people know that you're giving back to the community, that's what's going to make a big difference between someone sending real estate stats or real estate video about things they should know about getting their home fixed or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I think at some point, if you're the real estate guy that does all the real estate stuff, you know what, we're in 2020. I don't really need you to tell me to spring forward and change my car.
Exactly.
Like at some point they just turn off, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so go add other value, like just go be a human, just check in on them. And I think that's the biggest struggle with agents. They spend so much intimate time with their clients for like 90 plus days during the buying process. And then they don't know what to say or do after closing. And then that weird time where it is too long. And then it's like, then they really don't know what I don't know what to do.
Yeah, and that's usually that most intimate time. You're with them, you're finding out about that they're pregnant and that's why they're buying a home, or they're getting married, or they're going through a divorce, and you're sharing these intimate moments. And then you have this almost like a divorce where once they buy the house and then they kind of disappear, and then agents choke on what do I do? What do I say? And by doing events like this can really bring that back and keep them in the loop and maintain the relationship.
Yep. And if too far goes along, then you never call them. And that's why the statistics are that like you could literally pick up 20 addresses, and the likelihood that they've talked to their agent in the last 3 years, maybe once or twice, maybe.
Yeah. So getting started, then if someone's trying to get into doing events, what would you suggest as far as smaller scale? Because sometimes people think events and they see big teams doing them and they think it's a ton of time and energy. What kind of ideas would you have for maybe a solo agent, just kind of not a big budget or not a lot of time?
So the things that I'm always trying to think of are, well, first, I've had that a lot. They go, well, you're a team, you've got a bigger budget, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And, I didn't have a big budget when I was an individual agent. I did Sunday fun days, and I literally might have spent $50.
Yeah.
It was more just connecting with people and hanging out. And if you hang out and you actually show interest, you're going to get business out of it.
Yeah.
It's just not going to be tomorrow, probably. It might be 3 years down the road. So, it's one of those things that idea-wise, I think that it makes it a whole lot easier if you just own what you're interested in.
Yep.
Like go in, if you're into whatever it is. I mean, if you're into some kind of arts and crafts or candle making, I mean, just do something that you enjoy, and the people that show up are going to show up, and the people that aren't, it doesn't mean that they don't want to be your client or they aren't interested. It just, like, everybody's got lots of stuff going on. So, family time and baseball and soccer practice and tennis and all these things.
Yeah.
So what I always try to do is go, what would I enjoy showing up for?
Exactly.
Or what do I want to do anyway? And I don't care if nobody else shows up. Like, I do it anyway. It's been on my bucket list.
Yeah.
So those are the things I do. So I typically am like, I want to go to a baseball game with my kids or a football game, the Titans game. So I'm going to go to that anyway. So if I invite my top 10 friends / clients, cool. If 10 of them can make it, great. If only 8 of them can make it and I give 2 away to somebody else or to employees, it's all good.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be this big 100-person event. It can literally be $100 event, or you know what, even easier, just attach onto a community event that doesn't really cost anything.
Yep. That's what I've told people. It's like, you don't have to start the event from scratch. You can tag along, you can sponsor or be at the event or get tickets to that event and meet them there. If there's a carnival or whatever and show
So
up with them.
there's a lot of times that we will do, because we're in Nashville, we're Music City, and there's a lot of songwriter nights and things like that.
Yep.
I'll just buy like 20 tickets to a songwriter night, and we'll invite some of our clients, and then we'll also put it on Facebook or whatever.
Yep.
And Stu wants to show up and RSVP, and once the 20 tickets are gone, they're gone.
And I think one of the things that really stands out, not just with you yourself, but the people that I've talked to for years about events, is the people who do it the best, the people who do it well, the people who do it consistently are the ones who find stuff that they enjoy. And it's not these contrived, I have to do this event because it's the best lead generation or whatever. They're really doing something they're passionate about. They care about it. They enjoy, you said, going to a football game. They enjoy doing music night or whatever. And those are the ones who really crush it because their passion comes out and the clients see that too. And it's not just this big convoluted smoke and mirrors event.
Fun. Exactly. Yeah. As long as you're having fun, then everybody else is going to see you're having fun. And so it works out. I think the worst thing that you can do is pick something that you think you're going to get business from, but you don't really, like, you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same thing I tell people, like, don't go join a nonprofit board because you think there's a certain amount of rich people or wealthy people on that board. Go do it because you're passionate about it. Because the second you aren't passionate about it, it becomes work or a chore, and everybody's going to see through the fact that you aren't interested in it, really.
Yeah. So another way to capitalize on events is through fundraising and giving back. What type of stuff do you do with your team and with your community?
Yeah. So we're always looking for stuff. It's not any one thing in particular. Yeah. I will say Gary Keller challenged his top agent group in 2015. I actually probably started it before this, but he basically challenged us to start a nonprofit. Yeah. And so I started a nonprofit called Rehome. And it's similar to like KW Cares and Habitat Builds.
Yep.
And so we go out, most of it is we have a Rehome day where one day a year we take applications all year long and we pick one person and go help them fix up their house because they're now in a wheelchair or they don't have the money and they're on a fixed income.
That's awesome.
So we do something. So we submit that out to churches and we submit it out to our past clients. Surely have all those people somebody knows. Yeah. So we've done we've done $5,000 repairs on houses and we've done $25,000 and $30,000 repairs on houses. So in between all that, we'll do once a quarter we do something. So like one quarter we went and made food for the homeless. Like we actually made the food, then we also went and gave it out. And it's on Monday nights. Last weekend we did our Hillsboro West End neighborhood. We went and cleaned up the plant beds and planted trees. And so we're doing a lot with them because we want to get really drilled into the neighborhood. And but it could be a cup of sugar type project, or it could be something big where we've, husband and wife bought a house from us, and husband went into a wheelchair, and they only had steps on the front of their house, so we built a wheelchair ramp because they were on a fixed income and they couldn't do it. So we set aside some of on every one of our closings, commission check or money gets set aside so we can do stuff like that in the community.
That was going to be my next question is, are you putting away money from that? And are you doing anything with sponsorship? Are you getting anything from preferred vendors, or is it just literally coming out of the deals you're doing?
It's really right now it's coming out of the deals we're doing because we don't have one dedicated person to, there are some sponsorships and there are some, there's some different things you can do to get some nonprofit money.
Yeah.
We just haven't gone through all the hoops of doing it.
Yep.
And we're open to it. We just haven't done it.
I think that's a very different skill set, doing nonprofit fundraising.
Yeah.
It's not in my wheelhouse, but you need the right person to
do that. It really is like one dedicated person or somebody that's on contract work that can do it. So we just haven't done it, and we've kind of funded our own stuff, and it's been awesome. It's strategic giving. So it feels good to give back. And we also usually end up getting some kind of PR or business out of it, which is really icing on the cake. It's not the reason we do it.
So of those types of events, whether it's community events, whether it's client events, whether it's the donations, what has been the most financially rewarding and what has been the most personally rewarding for you then?
I think personally rewarding is just being able to get back into the community and get your hands dirty and like help out. Financially rewarding has probably been our client events, just because we've built our business on it. We've really dug in and asked our clients to invite other people so we can get to know their friends and family, and hopefully we're the first person that they think of, or the first team they think of when buying a property in Nashville.
And like you said, it doesn't have to be this grand thing. It can be a smaller event for those client events, and it can be big. I don't know if you want to talk about, before we were recording, we were talking about the event you do with your top referral partners and stuff like that. You want to dive into that? Because that's pretty high scale, but it's rewarding.
And I can go through a handful of our events and then how we've shifted in the last 3 to 6 months. So, some of the events we've done, at the end of last year, we did, for about 175 people, we did a movie theater. So we rented the movie theater, whatever it was. Oh gosh, Elsa.
Frozen.
2.
Yeah.
So we did Frozen 2. We had 175 people there. And we basically just said, if parents and kids and grandparents all want to go, like if you want 10 tickets, you can have 10 tickets. Once the 175 tickets were gone, they're gone. But we had, lots of different families, lots of people we haven't seen or we see once a year and we talk to on the phone. But it's cool. Like my very first listing client 14 years ago showed up with his kids and his grandkids. And so it's always cool to catch up. He's like, Josh, I'm so proud of you. Like, you could barely sell my house 15 years ago. He was a for sale by owner, and we laugh about it all the time. But it was, it's doing things like that. And we had, photographers, and we gave away our swag, like, shirts and stuff. And then we're face painting, and, Elsa was there. So anyway, we did that. We, our big event that I do personally for my top clients is the dinner party. We do a dinner party for about 45 to 50 people. Costs somewhere in the $8,000 to $10,000 range. It's like a 5-course meal. It's a bartender. It's everything, like down to the salad is, it's fresh, locally picked 2 hours before the event.
Wow.
I mean, when people start telling you like, oh my God, what'd you do? Like, why is that so good? Like the food's really, really fresh and organic and all that stuff. So, but those are like invitations, and, that's on my front porch. It's literally, again, 45 to 50 people. And those are our top clients. And every year, everybody's like, oh my God, how can I get invited back to that? And we do crawfish bowls, and I do things that I want to do. And then I love a great dinner and having a drink and talking and catching up with family and friends. And so like we do, for anybody that's listening, that's like, I don't know how to do this. Like, do you like football or baseball? Have a football, like if there's the SEC championships or the NFL, the Super Bowl's on, have the Super Bowl party at your house. It actually doesn't even cost you anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody can bring one side, and then there's plenty of food.
Yeah. I have a friend of mine who's a commercial agent, and he's in the city, and he's smart with what he does. So he does this about quarterly. He'll have a dinner at this really expensive restaurant. It's like $100 a plate, or $100 a setting. It's a 13-course meal. And he basically invites about 20 different agents that he knows who are residential agents, and he has it as this exclusive invite. So you got to get in for that quarter.
I bet you they refer the heck out of him.
That's exactly. And then also you make connections with other agents who when you go there, you're connecting. And I've got a friend of mine now who I've met through there, because we met and you chat and talk, and it's just this, it doesn't cost him anything. It literally, he just planned it, organized it. We pay for our own meal, and
even better.
We're all there. So it's just a great way to network and not cost.
Well, and there's exclusivity to it. So they feel like they're in the club, even though they're paying, and they get to talk and catch up. And, that's really it. I think as agents, we're really overthinking it.
Yeah.
I think it's as simple as, hey, there's, the new, whatever series is on, like have a couple of your friends who you think are your best connectors or your best referral source potentials. Like, it's really simple. It's just making contacts.
Yeah. So one of the things that agents struggle with, I find, is they can plan events, but then they don't know how to actually promote them or get the word out there. Do you have any tips or secrets on that? Because you can have a well orchestrated plan, but if no one shows up or if no one knows about it, it's going to flop.
Yeah, so it depends on what it is, but we usually do like a postcard, or some kind of mailer. We do a live phone call. We do a voicemail drop. We do a text message. We put it, if it's an open event, we put it on our Facebook, or we have like a private group for our clients on Facebook. So I mean, we do hammer it pretty hard.
Yeah.
Because if we're going to spend the time and money and energy to set up an entire event, we would like for as many people as possible to show up. Because a lot of times the events we're doing, there's like a minimum regardless, right? So, whether 2 people show up or 200 people show up, we're going to pay a fixed rate.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the movie theater. Like, we're paying for all that in advance.
Yeah.
And if there's really horrible weather or there was a bad storm and half the people don't show up, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
So I would say, if there's anybody that's listening that wants that, we've got playbooks on everything we do. I'm happy to send that to you, Ryan, or somebody wants to email me or find me on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever. I'm happy to provide that.
Awesome.
And so one of the things that I would also say is, like, so this year's atypical, to say the least. We have shifted, like, all of our client events have basically gone online to either Zoom bingo, Zoom trivia, magic show online. We've done lots of giveaways. So we did, and I don't know how many people know what a reverse bold 100 is, but it's basically, instead of calling out, we're doing a giveaway for people to call into our office. So we did, for Mother's Day, we did a Dyson supersonic blow dryer for $450. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
But I mean, we had 150 people call in.
Wow.
Like, husbands doing it to win with their wife.
Yeah.
Like, everybody was calling in.
Yeah.
Father's Day, we did a big green egg. And then, so, like, we're doing a scavenger hunt soon. So the scavenger hunt, you have to check into certain places. You have to, like, find one of my listings and snap a picture.
Nice.
You have to go to one of the well-known murals around town. You have to go to, like, one of the top 3. Here's the 3 top donut places in town. You have to check in there, and you have to tag us and the donut place. So we're just trying to get engagement. And so because we're doing that, we're getting giveaways from that donut place or that barbecue place. And so we're trying to have fun with it. Things that we, if it was like a boring, lazy Saturday and you wanted to do this scavenger hunt to win a Peloton, would you do it?
Yeah.
Sure. So we're doing lots of, like 2 weeks ago there was like National Tequila Day. I feel like I'm talking a lot about drinks on this. I don't even drink very much, but anyway, so there was National Tequila Day, and like us and follow us and then tag a friend in the post. And we had like 80 or 90 comments on that, just to win like a $50 bottle of Don Julio. It wasn't, but we do that with, like, local pet places. Like, here's a $50 gift card. So we just get engagement online if we can't see each other. So it's really simple. You can, I can give you the links of like, so what I do is, like, I go follow the top realtors around the country. I go follow the top places in Nashville on Instagram. And I just like to see what they're doing. Like, what are they doing that we can implement in the real estate industry? Or what are the top realtor, what's Ryan Serhant doing in New York? Or what are some of these guys able to do? And it's, they've got tons of followers, but they're not necessarily doing anything better than we are.
Yeah.
It's just getting out there and doing it.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of agents are a little bit of analysis paralysis on, like, are people going to think this is dumb or cheesy? Just do it. Just roll with it. Like, we do lots of cool things. We also do some cheesy stuff. Like, we did Pi Day, which is not Pi Day for Thanksgiving, but like March 14th, 3.14. So, like, we're just doing stuff, and instead of doing like an apple pie, we did a pizza pie.
Nice.
So, like, it's just having fun with it.
And the secret that with that is doing it consistently so that people know that that's the kind of stuff you do. And
Very,
when you do those giveaways, then people are watching for it, versus if you're just sending out real estate content, they ignore it. But when they know you're doing fun things, they know you've got events coming up, they know they've got chances to win stuff, they're looking for it and waiting for that next thing to come out.
yeah. And I would tell people, if you go to, if you're on Instagram, it's at tag real estate, TAG real estate. If you go there, you will see real estate and some listings, but it's probably one out of every 4 or 5 posts, maybe.
Yeah.
Really, a lot of it is like community stuff, or iconic signage around town, or a cool commercial building. We don't even do commercial. It's just like cool pictures, cool rooftops, cool new restaurants. We're trying to be kind of the digital mayor of Nashville with regard to like, here's all of our blogs, here's our YouTube video content, here's our just different stuff that you can't. We're trying to find stuff that you can't Google, for example.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So there's 2 questions I have. One is, and I know people will probably ask, is what kind of return are you getting on these? Because if you're spending X amount of dollars in time, what can people expect to get back from it? I mean, it's nice to be giving and give back to the community, but obviously we still have a business to run. So like, what can you get back from it? And then how much time of your real estate business is actually spent doing real estate, and how much of it is doing events?
Yeah. So to answer the first question, I think part of this is a little bit difficult. I mean, some of it is branding, and obviously you can't do branding for a long time without bringing in revenue.
Yes.
But it's not like some of the other things where I can go, hey, we spent $1 here and we got 4 back.
Yep.
So I would say it's a very hard thing, but I can say if we do an event where 50 people show up, we absolutely are getting a certain amount of referrals after every single one of them. So like, I can tell you within 90 days of doing a client event, we close somebody from that deal. And our average price point's 500,000. If we spend $5,000 on it, we spent like $3,500 on the movie thing.
Yeah.
We closed within 6 months. We closed like 4 deals that were referrals from.
That's awesome.
And so our average deal's a $15,000 commission. That's $60,000 in commissions for that.
Yeah.
Like that return.
Well worth it. Yeah.
And then as far as like some of the community stuff, some of it is just goodwill and like connecting with people, and it's really hard to get $1 return, especially with some of that is like our Anderson Group stuff, and some of that is our rehome stuff. So, and then to answer your question as far as how much time, like I'm definitely helping out, but a lot of it is we've got a really robust marketing calendar and like video calendar, nonprofit calendar it's all one big calendar that's broken out. And it's really just looking at that stuff a quarter in advance and going, what can we do now to start that conversation so we're spending a lot of time and energy, but I've got a director of marketing and a director of operations. And so we're all kind of pitching in. So it's really not that much time. The agents on the team, I would say, do very little on that stuff. They kind of show up. It's really more implemented administratively.
I think too, that if an agent's doing that kind of stuff, if it's done right, it can be in replace of lead generation per se. So the time you'd be spending making cold calls, you are spending having coffees, networking, building relationships. And that's totally fine to have as part of your business. And it's not on top of your real estate business. It's part of your real estate business.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying earlier about do something that you enjoy doing anyway. So like a certain amount of the stuff that we do from a nonprofit perspective, I would be doing with my family anyway. So like my wife, we've kind of agreed, like, I want my kids, they get a lot. And, just in today's world, they're exposed to a lot, but like I think most of us don't spend time like, hey, we're going to go down to the homeless shelter and feed, or volunteer or do whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that people need to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So like we'd be doing a certain amount of that anyway.
Yeah.
And I think it's good for our kids to see. And I think it makes us feel good, and it makes us really appreciate the things that we have. So some of that stuff we'd be doing anyway, regardless. It's not like, hey, we're going to get business from this.
Yeah.
Because some of that stuff, honestly, some of the nonprofit stuff that we do, we literally don't even tell people.
Yeah.
We just do it. Sometimes we just send in a donation anonymously, and we don't need, we just don't need it. Like, we don't need the recognition from it.
Yeah. And it makes you feel better about yourself. And the people, if there is a connection with those people and they see that you're not out there just promoting it, they're going to appreciate that as well and go, okay, he's not just here to take a photo and show up and promote the heck out of it. And that's it.
Yeah.
So what would you give for one last piece of advice if anyone's thinking about kind of doing these type of events, if they just want to get started and they're just kind of in that beginning stages of planning things, what would your advice be?
Yeah. And I would say go do a little bit of research of like what you see other people in your community or some other community, like reach out to that person. If you guys have questions, I'm happy to answer questions as far as like what that looks like. But really the biggest piece is just do it. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to look like it's going to be a mess in the background. It isn't going to feel good. You just do it. I mean, there's some events we do and I'm like, God, this could have been set up so much better than it was, or I can't believe we only had 17 people show up. And sure, 17 people, like, you just do it, and 17 people, somebody's going to send a referral. Like, it just, and if you don't have a budget, who cares? Just like, you can go do yoga in the park for free, whatever. I don't, like, just make something up. So the excuse on the budget and all that stuff, like, you can get creative. There's enough meetup groups. There's enough things going on in our world today that you can get plugged into either a nonprofit or you can attach onto another event. It could be like a little neighborhood park thing where they're doing some kind of, even if it's socially distanced right now. Yeah. So I would say just show up and do it. Just do something. It's not going to be perfect anyway. Like, we've done hundreds of events and it's still not perfect. So.
And to that point, I found in my own experience with volunteering and doing events and things like that, is that we see the mistakes behind the scenes of what happens, and the public has no idea, or it's just a blip in what they see, and they have a great experience, and we get hung up on, oh, the food wasn't right, or this didn't come out on time, or this person didn't show up. And it's like, just do it, get it out there. The public's going to appreciate it, and that's the important part.
Yep, for sure.
So one of the sections we have is your best books section. So what's the best book that you'd recommend that's really made an impact on yourself and your business?
So many good books. God, this isn't even my, I've got my podcast room. I've got probably 500 books. So, I'll say a couple of things I'm doing right now. One of the books that I'm reading right now, because I'm doing a 4-day MBA class next week in Austin, it's called The Road Less Stupid. And it's by Keith Cunningham. I know it sounds
Kevin, I just launched the episode today. Kevin Kaufman, that's the book he suggested and said it's an incredible book.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with real estate. It's just being a better business person. And then I'll give you 2 other things. Right. Another book that I've read that's really great is, and I'm kind of re-skimming through it as we do. The topic of our focus day or our advance this year is extreme ownership.
Nice.
So Extreme Ownership's a really good book. And then I've been lately I've just been doing a lot of podcasts, and I love my Blinkist app. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Blinkist or not, but it basically takes a book and digests it down to about a 12 to 15 minute audio. Yeah. You can read it as well, but it's pretty awesome.
Share that as well. That's awesome. That's great. And if people want to check out what you're up to, how they can connect with you, and then if you want to, you said you can share the playbooks. Do you want to have them connect to you, or do you want me to send it out, or it's totally up to you?
They can connect to me. So I would tell you, the 2 places that were probably the most present, Facebook.com, Nashville, Tennessee Real Estate, all spelled out. That's our business page. And then Instagram is @tag real estate. So you should find us there. And then if somebody wants to email me about one of the playbooks, it's just josh@joshandersonrealestate.com.
Awesome. So we'll put that in the notes so people can check that out. And if they want to reach out, happy to do that then. Thank you again for being on the show. It's great to have you on. Some great information here. And I know my viewers are really going to appreciate that, and hopefully get some good events, COVID or not, out there and get started.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
Bye. Thanks for checking out today's episode. If you'd like more videos like this, be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our Facebook page and our other social media channels. Looking forward to bringing you more great content like this, and happy farming.